often nervous, but I'm nervous of microphones, and I have to do something a bit weird to not be nervous of microphones. I'm nervous of three things: microphones, prejudice, and barriers. But so, to help me with the microphones, how about if we all stand, not for me, just for liveliness, to make sure can you stand? And all say, yeah! Hey! Yeah! Great, thanks. I know you're all alive now, and I know you're focused. Okay. I rarely go to conferences and not sleep or run away to smell garbage. This is the first time. I'm focused all the time. So it's a great mabruk and for the success of this event, really, I have to say. My title, as you know, is Keeping the Candle Lit. And I've seen so many candles lit today in this event. I'll start a little bit. Where do I start? Where do I begin? I know where to start. As you know, and as many of you spoke about, we live in a world of many barriers. A lot of prejudices, barriers, walls, and Palestine, thank God, is full of walls and is full of barriers. But anyway, the good thing is people somehow learned how to go around them. I really admire taxi drivers in Palestine. If three roads close, they will tell you, don't worry, there's another road. خلي عنك بندبر حالنا. We'll get there. So we'll get there, right? Okay. And I have to speak about my experience with barriers and with connectedness also, with dividedness and connectedness. As you know, I am blind. I was born to a Palestinian refugee family. And at that time, it wasn't something very pleasant for a family. Because at that time, a girl was a disaster. But to be blind was a triple disaster, I think. So I had minimum expectations from most surrounding people, including my closest family members, I would say. So to get education, or for whatever reasons, I was put in a boarding school, an English boarding school, which was dividing, but actually now I see the results. It's empowering because it helped me find my own self. And I learned with all the disbelief around me I learned to connect, I learned to charm, I learned to use humor to connect to people, to tell them we're the same. And it's a skill you develop. People develop different skills to cope with being the other. And this is one skill perhaps I developed. But I want to share with you 3 stories of that kept my candle lit. I think there's many. Sometimes we underestimate very small touches in life, but they can really be meaningful. The first story I want to share was when I was in school. Once I was 3 hours late intentionally for something. I was taking a class out of my school, and I was 3 hours late. And I came back to this boarding school, and the girls were waiting for me anxiously. And they told me, Laila, you're really in trouble because you're late. They were just about going to call the police to look for you. So I said, so what? Let them kick me out anyway. Who cares? I was ready for a fight. And then the person who was responsible, the second person in the school, Grace, her name was. By the way, she's not alive now, but anyway, she's very alive inside me. She came to me and said, darling, you must be hungry. We have chicken and rice. And I will never forget this. I was expecting to be scolded, to be yelled at, and she was worried about my hunger. And nothing shamed my behavior of being irresponsibly late than that. So really, kind reactions are the best way to teach people a lesson. Okay? My second story is a funny one, too. Anyway, I don't want to tell you all my life story. Some of it is you can't say in public, and some of it is too long, and Yeah, those who know me can imagine, huh? طيب. After my BA degree, I went to the US, and I experienced being the other again, and I experienced the feeling of being a stranger again in the beginning. And I struggled again to connect and to find soulmates. And I was challenged because people who were supposed to give me the scholarship didn't believe that a blind Arab can make it. So I was put to many tests. One of the tests I was put under was to test my English. So I was actually insulted, you know. How could they? I was raised in a British school. So they assigned an English as a second language teacher for me. And I met her with like, who do you think you are? And so I told her, you know, I'm good in English. Why are you here? She said, so the hell with English. Let's know each other. So we started conversing and going to lunches, and we went skiing together, hiking, you name it, swimming in rivers, you name it, and other naughty things, okay? No, it's not what you thought, okay? Anyway, one day, maybe 3 months after I met Wendy, I came to the so-called class excited. I said, Wendy, I had such a great interview with this woman. Even though she's Jewish, this is the first time I meet a nice Jewish person. And she said, no, it's not the first time. I said, don't tell me now you're a Jew. She said, yes, I am. You can imagine my face was in many colors. So, you know, after leaving Palestine and only knowing Jews to being soldiers with guns, how do I know that there's nice ones? Now I know. I really know now. I have many friends who are Jews. So this was my second candle in light, and she's still my soulmate, by the way. And the third candlelight, there's many I told you, but these are somehow, they came to my mind. And Susan told me to say them. I'm obedient, as you can see. Okay, the third story was when I went to university. Suddenly, one of my supervisors in the field told me, you will never make a good therapist, Laila. So I was really frustrated and depressed. And the university said, don't worry, Laila, we believe in you. You have a good history with us. I said, no, I want to do another semester. I want to do another internship to prove to myself that I can do it. So they assigned this other woman, Arlene, and they told her, we have this very challenging, difficult student. She's blind and Palestinian. Would you take her? She said, I want to meet her. I like hopeful challenges. If she's a hopeful challenge, I'll continue. So we met and we connected, and she became my supervisor, and she was wonderful. I remember, you know, when she first started supervising me, she told me, what makes you a good therapist? I said, what do you mean? I took this course and that course. She said, no, none of that. And she came back to my personal life, to my personal understanding of why people could need me and why do I need people. So one day, after maybe at least a month of our journey together, she said, Laila, do you use a computer? Do you have a computer? I said, yeah, I have a computer sitting in a box for the last year. So she said, Laila, I really think you're so smart, and you could do a better job with reports, and tell me of anything I can do to help you do better reports. What can I do? I said, don't worry, I'll manage. I swear I went home that night and did not sleep learning my laptop. Finally, I dared to go into that box and get the computer. So her timing and her belief in me, and it was so beautiful. And so this woman, I should say, left her marks on me as a professional therapist. She was very human, and I appreciate her. So the wisdom of that also was always there to go in the box, because we're not just prejudiced against Palestinians or Jews or blind people or what have you. We're prejudiced against computers. Prejudice comes from two reasons from my experience: ignorance and insecurity, power hunger. So let's dare to challenge our ignorance and fear of what we don't know, right? Okay. My last name is Atshan, and I'm really thirsty. Atshan is thirsty, you know. Okay, so now I want to, then after I graduated and worked a bit in the US, I was called to work with Intifada injured youth. And it was a difficult time, November 90, when we were about to have the Gulf War, you know. So my friend said, oh, how could you do that? It's dangerous, don't. And I came back, and that was really an important part in my life. I worked with Intifada injured youth, and this was my opportunity to repair what couldn't be done for me, I think, using the political situation, to help people get up, get out of their trauma, if they had a disability, to get back together and look for the resources and get them back in the community instead of dividing them from it like I had experienced. And I had many, many wonderful, sad but wonderful experiences. I can recall when I first met this very, very naive, very kind man who told me he was in jail for 17 years. I said, what, 17 years in jail? You know, I can't sit on an airplane for 12 hours, I suffocate. So, but one example, when I came back to work with Intifada injured youth, that really touched me, this guy who was badly beaten by soldiers and developed a kidney problem. I asked him once, if you meet those people who did that to you, what would you tell them? What would you do to them? He said, Laila, I would just tell them to please not do it to others because it could be your child. I said, you mean it? He said, I mean it. And this was really a wonderful start. I remember I left this guy, I cried, but he gave me so much hope. How could he have, I'm not sure he's alive actually. Till now I'm not sure because his kidney problem was very serious, but his message was so powerful from someone like him. Yeah. And nobody gave me the flash. Anyway, I don't see, they can flash as much as they can. I'm now working during this, I've been working since November 1990 with trauma in Palestine. I worked with refugees in Denmark, and it was a very important thing for me to work with Palestinian refugees in Denmark. I need rootedness. I appreciate feeling rooted, actually. But now I'm working with what we call psychosocial teams with UNICEF, of which some of my wonderful colleagues are present. And the idea of these teams was, after Jenin, when communities tend to disrupt a bit, tend to disconnect because of the chaos violence creates, and we collected the existing organizations to work in mental health and related fields together. And how we work is we try to collect the maximum existing people, and we try to work, I supervise them to work on their own vulnerability, their own, the impact of what they endure because they live in the trauma, and how to gain skills to work with the community. And now we have 11 psychosocial teams in the West Bank of Palestine, and they're doing wonderful, wonderful work. And you should have seen us many times. You would see 25 people even, and myself, like this past week, cry together over events because, you know, people tell me, Laila, you've been so long in this, you still cry. I said, the minute I don't cry, I worry, because then this means I became so mechanic, but I don't hope to ever stop crying, you know. I want to share with you something. I am working under very difficult circumstances. It's not easy to work under occupation. It's not easy to go through checkpoints every day, and it's not easy to hear many sad stories in life. But I want to share with you what is it that keeps me with a smile and with a spirit. I can think of 3 things, but remind me to tell you about the cow as an inspiration, okay? I think for me the secret is in 3 things. First of all, to acknowledge my vulnerability, to be able to have space and have a cry when I go home. I need that, or with others at times. Secondly, humor and playfulness. It's so important. The minute we only think of ourselves as working beings and we don't think of all our other needs like recreation, we're lost. We don't do service for ourselves or for others. So that's why I ride horses, I swim, I play, I tell all kinds of jokes. Some of them I'm not allowed to say today, I understand. And the last thing I want to share, connectedness. Connectedness is, I really connect to people on whichever level they are, on whichever emotional level they are. And I need friends, I come back, I need friends around me, and many of them are here. I'm really so grateful for the friends who take my crying, and people who are used to me always being a clown, it's a bit difficult for them to see me cry, but yeah, I have them. And people in the field, people I work with, always give me back energy. It's amazing. As Munir earlier said, never underestimate anyone's power and ability. So we're really equal in the field. I give them and they give me. And I will share with you a final funny example. Funny, ironic. Some months ago, I was in the village of Barta'a near Jenin, which is a village behind the wall where population cannot leave or go into the village without a military permit. So if you go to work and the Israelis decide that the security machine is not working, you have to find a place to sleep out. But one of the ironic incidences they shared with me, the cow once got sick in the village, and they called on a vet, but the soldiers won't let the vet in or the cow out. But they have to treat the cow. The cow was in danger, So what did they do? They put the bottom of the cow on the fence and let the vet give the injection to the cow. And I mean, this creativity will always leave me with a big smile, and how wonderful people are. No wall, no fence, no bullets, nothing can stop people from living their lives, I promise you, if we really mean it, and I know we can, okay? You want to sing وين Ramallah? That's it.